Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Michael Camo. I am Director of Content for T3 Live, and I am here with the great Sami Abusaad. And today we are going to discuss how to learn to trade the smart way in 2024, because Sami's been educating traders for a long time now, over a decade, and he has a lot to say about what you should do and what you should not do when you are learning to trade. So, Sami, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Doing great. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning when you were first getting started in the market. Like, how did you learn to trade, and what did you do right, and what did you do wrong when you were getting started?
How long do we have?
We have as long as you have, I have.
Uh, well, I saved $20,000 from a job that I had while still going to school, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I invested it in the stock market naturally. Heard about Warren Buffett, decided, to invest in the stock market, and I uh, I deposited only 16 out of the 20 that I had. From the 16, the account grew to almost $50,000 in under a year, and so I was hooked. I thought, and that's in 2004 or five. That's 20 years ago. So I got hooked on trading, but I also thought, being that I was an accountant, I thought I I knew what I was doing, and it turned out it was just luck. The market was bullish, and I just made money by playing long in a bullish market. So when the market turned, I gave back everything plus $15,000 more. So I went bust basically. And that's when I realized that I didn't know what I was doing, that I had just gotten lucky, which was a blow to my ego, of course. But I've always been a truth seeker. I've always wanted the truth, whether it was good or bad. And I accepted that. But I had the trading bug now. I just wasn't going to let it go. Right. And so I pursued it more, and decided to started to save as much money as I can, because I already knew that that's what I wanted to do for life. And so I started to save money so that I could quit my job. I had already started working for a big four accounting firm as an auditor, and and then on the side I was trading, and it wasn't going all that great initially, because the market had changed, was bullish, turned bearish, and I didn't know what I was doing. But one thing led to another, and I was told to check out a small company called Pristine Trading, and I never wanted to, like, I looked at a lot of different companies at the time that were selling education, and I never wanted to buy anything unless I made sure that it made sense to me. Like, I used to say, I have to make sure that the logic is intrinsically valid. That's what I used to tell myself. And so the Pristine method of trading made sense. It made sense. And it's something that I could repeat. It's something that I can, it's a way of reading charts and price action in a very objective way. So I decided to adopt or trade the Pristine way, basically. And really, within 4 months, I think I got it. Like, I'm not saying within 4 months I was making a ton of money, but I understood what trading was about. I knew what I needed to do, and it became just a matter of discipline, patience, that sort of stuff. And I never looked back. I never went back to work. I never, I've always, ever since then, been a full-time trader. Initially, I started off as a swing trader, and then later on, I decided, wait a second, the market sometimes, especially after the 2007 crash, realized, my goodness, you can make a lot of money day trading. So I also started day trading. So I opened this separate account for day trading and swing trading. And ever since then, I've always been a full-time day and swing trader.
Okay, so you did come from an unconventional background for trading, because we hear a lot of traders coming from, sports and things. I would say more things that are kind of about flow. And you came from an accounting background, which seems unusual because these seem like totally opposite careers. Did anything from accounting actually help you in trading?
No, and that was the disappointing part, is that I was a 4.0 student. I was nominated to be the valedictorian for my class. That's how, and I worked hard. I was on a full scholarship, worked hard to get to where I was. And here I am, graduating, joining one of the top firms in the country, the top four, one of the top four firms, accounting firms in the country. And just as my career started to take off, became a senior accountant, and then I quit my job. And so I felt a little bit disappointed about it, but I also realized that it's not what I really wanted to do. I studied accounting only because I was interested in math, because I didn't want to major in math because everybody told me, including my advisor, that if I was going to major in math, that I really would need to go to get a master's degree, perhaps a PhD. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that at all. Because with a bachelor's degree in math, there wasn't much you could do with it at the time. And so I took accounting, and I liked it because it was all math, but it was also practical. It's how companies, do business, right? And you always need accountants, whether the economy is doing well, doing poorly. So it's a job that you never had. It's a job that you never have to worry about. And I don't think really it helped at all in my trading, because in fact it was maybe not a great background to have, because I was a perfectionist initially. And in trading, it's not about perfectionism. It's a science and an art, and so it's both. And so being a perfectionist just doesn't work in trading. So I think it was not a positive at all that I had an accounting background. It's the opposite, I think.
Okay, but at the very least, I know that getting an accounting degree is very, very difficult, and becoming a CPA is very, very difficult. And getting a job at one of those big firms, also very, very difficult. So I think Sami's being too modest, because he was actually at the top of his field in accounting. It's like he wasn't just like a regular old accountant. He was actually like at the top of the field. So do you think that kind of that grind to get there helped you though?
Yes and no, because I already had it in me. I was trying when I was a kid. I always wanted to be a professional athlete, as so many kids always, as so many kids do, and so it built that inner drive in me. So I already was really driven, even before I, became an accountant. I remember one time I was playing basketball, and we were getting our butts kicked in a tournament. And the coach called timeout, pulled us aside and said, and he was telling us what we were doing wrong. And then he said, if everybody played with their heart like Sami does, we can beat any team in this tournament. And I was like, I didn't know at the time that I was playing with heart, with a lot of heart. I didn't know it. And so that was the first time that I started to realize that I was a little bit more self-driven than the average person. And that's something that helped me in my trading, I think, but not so much, the accounting background.
Okay. So how much of your success do you attribute to just that raw drive?
It can't be quantified. That's the issue. I can't quantify it, but it's part of who I am. It's part of my personality. I think without it, I wouldn't be where I am today. But I don't know exactly. It's really hard to quantify. Some people are also really good at other things that I may not be very good at. And so you don't have to have that that drive, maybe, you could be so good at something else. And like pattern recognition, you used to be a pilot and you're just so good at it, or whatever it is, or you're an artist and you know how to flow with things, with the market. So we can always, we all have strengths and weaknesses. You just want to make sure that you use those strengths, you bring them into your trading. You make sure that you use them, and you avoid your weaknesses, or you minimize their impact as much as possible on your trading.
Okay, so let me play psychiatrist for a second here on
Please.
you, Sami. So what do you think your weaknesses are?
My weaknesses, let's see. Actually, one of my greatest strengths in real life, in life, is I'm a very patient person. I don't overreact. I don't, or that's what people tell me, at least. In trading, I'm not as patient. So I am not as patient, is what I noticed. So that would be probably my greatest weakness in trading, because if you're not really patient, what ends up happening is you don't, you can end up getting out of the trades too quickly. You can, you may not wait for the right setup all the time. So being patient is really, really important. And it's so funny because I have that quality in my life. I mean, when I compare myself to my siblings, to my friends, I feel like I'm a lot more patient than everybody else. I don't want to brag here, but when it comes to trading, I'm not that patient. So that's it. That's my, I think, greatest weakness as a trader.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because I get the same exact feedback that everybody that knows me in my personal life thinks I'm a very mellow, calm person, and everybody I work with thinks I'm a lunatic. So yeah, so I think we have that in common. So in terms of patience, is it something you work on, or do you just accept that in trading I'm not a patient person?
uh, I, I, you have to acknowledge it. So I acknowledge I'm not the most patient, but I also, I'm also, during the day, I'm cultivating awareness of how I'm feeling, and and the stream of thoughts that's going through my mind. So I'm aware of it, and so I just, as long as I'm aware of it, then I don't, then I'm okay. But it's the days or the moments when I'm not aware that I'm being impatient that that do the harm. But most of the time, because now I'm aware of my weakness, I can deal with it. It stays under control. But then you have to have another quality to be able to counteract. I had to cultivate another quality, which is awareness. I had to cultivate awareness to counteract that weakness that I have. But now that I've cultivated, I feel like my lack of patience is not that big of a deal. Okay. Mike, no sound.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, so when you see new traders, because you work with a lot of new traders that are up and coming, do you find that they need to work more on the kind of psychological and attitudinal stuff, or the nuts and bolts of the charts and patterns and those things?
I'm sorry to say, it's both, but one doesn't, like, they're parallel paths that everybody has to take. And so you're working on your technical analysis skills, your trade execution skills, your management, your your target setting, your whatever. You're working on that, and at the same time you're developing your psychology, because the psychology that's required for trading is very counterintuitive. It's not what you think it is. That's the problem, is that most people come into the market thinking that, oh yeah, I got good psychology. I can read people pretty good. I'm good at playing office politics or whatever, right? I'm solid. I'm really confident. I'm solid psychologically, but that may not necessarily translate very well in trading. So it's both at the same time. That's why it helps to be diligent, and it helps to be to be very methodical in your approach to self-analysis, but also to trading, so that you're keeping tabs on everything. You're developing again your psychology as a trader, but you're also working on your technical analysis skills.
Okay, so in terms of like the attitude people come into trading with, where do you think they struggle the most? Or I would say rather, what is the unconventional truth that they need to accept they may not be aware of?
Great. A lot of people that come to trading they actually come from successful, maybe sometimes very successful backgrounds, and so they already come to the market with the idea that they're smarter than most other people, that they're better they can beat the market. And that's exactly where they make the mistake. That's like mistake number one. You can't come to the market. You don't want to think that your previous successes in your other career will necessarily translate into success in the market. Because you have to, in order to be a trader, you have to have some money. You're not going to come into the market without any money. But the other thing about I'll give you an example. I used to do this in-person mentorship program. I still do it, but now I do it online. And I remember one time I was doing the mentorship in White Plains, New York, and I had a truck driver and a doctor, a medical doctor, who had his own private clinic with 26 employees, staff, and other doctors and assistants that were working for him. And he was very proud of it. And they sat next to each other on that table that we all shared, the conference room table. And the truck driver seemed like he had no formal education at all, was missing half of his teeth. I'm sorry to say, not trying to be judgmental here, but I could tell he couldn't really string together more than a couple words. And yet he did better that week, made really good money that week than the doctor. And every day when we reviewed our performance and the trades that we took and what we did, the doctor, how are you doing, doctor? Not good. The truck driver, yeah, I'm doing great. This is what I did. And so whenever the truck driver talked, the doctor just sank in his seat and just was very disappointed, because he thought very highly of himself, obviously, and yet here's this guy that is, like I said, probably doesn't have any formal education and was doing better than him. So what's the lesson there? Your background is, most of the time, your professional background is a hindrance, not a help. I mean, it's not very helpful. So you have to come to the market with really fresh, brand new attitude. You look at things completely objectively, forget about your ego and the image that you've created for yourself, and just come to the market with a very open mind, and you're really just hungry to learn. Don't come to the market with the idea that you already know, because if you know, then you're not going to be open to learning, right? If I know something, why would I want to be learning it? So don't come to the market with the idea that you know, because that's what happened to me. Being that I had an accounting background, I thought, well, I can read 10Ks and 10Qs. I know how to audit these financial statements. I know I can pull them up, and I can look at which companies are doing well, which companies are not doing well. I can forecast. I can do all that stuff. I don't know if I can do it still. And so I thought, that gives me an edge over everybody else, and I should be, I'm good, right? Not so fast, Mike.
Okay. So how do you balance your own ego? Because you did well in school. Oh, also, we should mention that Sami came to the United States not knowing English at the age of 18, and somehow he got a 4.0 and became a CPA. So you're smart, obviously, because you became a CPA, you became an accountant. So how do you manage your own ego so you don't end up like the doctor?
not that easy. But how do you manage your own ego when you have $10 million in the bank account? So there it is, not easy, so you can't let the bank account, the balance, get to your head. So the same, you stay humble, you stay, so that you stay grounded. So the same way in trading, you try your best to, if you're not aware of it, there's no way you're gonna succeed. Like if you're not aware of, your own self-inflated ego, right? Then yes, you're not going to be able to fix the problem. But if you're aware that, because I'm wealthy, or I'm a little arrogant, and the market, that's the thing about the market, it will humble you. If you are, it will very quickly put you in your place. So I guess the answer is, having that little bit of awareness. And I'm not trying to be philosophical or spiritual, whatever, but having a little bit of self-awareness, so that you're not, so that you don't fall into the trap of thinking that you know what you're doing, when you don't. Especially in the beginning, you just simply don't. You're coming to the market and you don't know what trading is all about. You don't know what works and what doesn't. So that's it, Mike.
Okay, so if we go back to, you started learning to trade in the mid 2000s, is anything different these days when it comes to, like, if you were just flat up beginner getting started, would you do anything differently today?
Let's see. Yes and no. I mean, the market is always the same somehow, somewhat. But these days, you don't have commissions. Everything costs so much less. I mean, even these monitors that you see here, they cost me $1,000 each. In fact, that was a great deal that I was getting on those monitors. These days, it's like, these are 40-inch 4K monitors, and that's what I use for my trading. These days, you can get them for $200. So everything, most trading platforms are free. So I think, these days, if you know what you're doing, you actually have a better chance, you have a higher odds of making it, because your cost to break even is very minimal. Whereas when I started, I don't remember how much the commissions were, but pretty expensive. So I think these days I would experiment more before I get, before I scale up and do size. I would just experiment a lot more. I would take, 10 trades a day with 10 shares each. Back in the day, if I took 10 trades a day, that's 10 entries, 10 exits, that's 20 orders times, let's say, I don't know what the order, that then I'm down $400, $500, $600 just on commission alone at the end of the day. So I think with commission going to zero, practically speaking, you can experiment, and that helps a lot, because you want to experiment in the beginning when you're trading very small size, not later on when you're trading thousands of shares. So and there's nothing that replaces experience. Meaning you can study all the books in the world, take all the classes in the world, but until you start hitting these buttons and clicking and entering orders and managing, you're not gonna, it'll be very hard to translate that knowledge that you have unless you have that experience. So in the beginning, it was very prohibitive to experiment and learn. You wanted to actually right away start making money, because you're losing so much on commission every day. So in my opinion, these days, it's actually easier, better than before.
Okay, on the flip side of those commissions, a lot of that's come through technology. Now, we've heard over the last couple of years, the big boogeymen of the market are algos and HFTs, and they see me trying to buy 50 shares of Tesla, and they're going to get in there and do something evil to me. Do you think at all about those types of things?
It's only when I am scalping off the level 2 that it's not that I think about it. There are level 2 windows that or stocks that have level 2 windows that are that I can tell they're being manipulated. I can tell. Um, but on, if I'm looking at a stock and I'm looking at the chart and I'm not paying attention to the micro movements in the stock price, no, I mean they don't care about your 50 shares. Okay, so yeah, when it comes to chart trading and not scalping off the level 2 window, absolutely, I do not care about HFTs, algos, bots, whatever you want to call them. I don't care at all. Mike, the sound.
Whoops, sorry.
No
So
problem.
I popped a comment on the screen from Turnkey Trading on YouTube, and if you guys have comments, if you're on whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, pop them in there and we'll talk about it. But Turnkey Trading says if a trader has a good trading system of charts and indicators that is profitable, then emotions become less of a problem. Do you agree with that, Sami?
I agree with that, absolutely. But in order to get to that, the problem is I can give you a great trading methodology or system, whatever you want to call it, but are you going to be able to execute it correctly? Are you going to be able to manage properly without the proper mindset, without having your emotions, letting your emotions interfere? Probably not. So that's why you have to develop both aspects of your trading: the psychological part, and also the technical. So I agree with it, but it's really hard to get there unless you have solid psychology.
Okay, now I want to dig into a single word you just said. You said able, as in able to follow the trading system. Do you think people are? Is it an issue of ability or will? Because I've heard this a lot that people will learn a system and then not follow it and then blame the system. Do you find that's the case?
It's both. It's discipline, which is your will to do what's right, to follow your trading plan. So it's both. It's the discipline, but it's also the psychology. If you have all the discipline in the world, but you are emotionally unstable, you're emotionally, just all over the place, you're very compulsive, then you're not gonna, the discipline is not enough. I mean, it just isn't. And so it's both. Unfortunately, it's both. Mike?
Okay, guys. So Sami has to get going in a few minutes, but if you stick around, we want to talk a little bit about his mentorship program because it is selling out very fast. So I'm going to pop up some information on the screen. So this is a program we just relaunched for 2024. Sami used to do mentorships online, and we basically made it bigger and better into the best learning experience we've ever offered. Now, this thing is no joke. It's pricey, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of hard work, but it is amazing. So again, what we've added more live training, more coaching, more interaction. James Rich Young, which some of you know from YouTube, he came on as an instructor because he works the room with Sami, and the savings are even better when you sign up. So I'm going to go over quickly what you get. You learn the pristine method taught live, the opening rush course, again, taught live, 10 group lessons and coaching sessions on Zoom. You get 1-year subscriptions to Sami's room and newsletter, $7,000 plus in savings. And again, but what you really want is you get end-to-end trading, your personnel challenges addressed, the confidence you need to succeed, a blueprint for your trading career, and again, $7,000 in savings because everybody loves to save money. And again, this is an online event. The event that's going on right now, people are from all over the US, Australia, Sweden, Canada, Germany, Paraguay, and the UK. We even had people logging in at like 1 a.m. from Australia, which I thought was crazy, but that's how much people love to learn with Sami and James. So if you have an internet connection, you can join from anywhere on earth. Some quick feedback we got. Ren from Virginia said, book it, life-changing. Christopher also said, life-changing, worth well more than the price I paid. If you are struggling, this is a no-brainer. I would have been willing to pay even more. Dennis, if you're watching, wish we would have known that before you signed up. But yeah, Andrew from Pennsylvania said, if you're serious about trading for a living, absolutely take the mentorship. Pedro said, take this course today. Ken said, Sami sharing the money-making strategy that he himself relies upon. Micah from Hawaii said because of Sami and James, he was confident enough to leave his job, move back to Honolulu, and trade full-time. And that makes me want to take the mentorship. I want to move to Hawaii and trade full-time. Brooklyn is disgusting. Then the past mentorships Sami used to do, Ben said, my P&L began gradually increasing. The games became more noticeable. Brian from Washington, this is our favorite kind of feedback because his entire mentorship was paid for with one trade idea he got from Sami. James said mentorship was awesome. I made back what I paid for the mentorship and more during the week. Malene from Canada said, I know this is my final stop. Again, we could sit here all day. I have like 10 million Sami Abusaad testimonials I can show you. But if you're interested, we recommend you reach out now because the January event sold out in record time. And this one we are selling right now is selling out even faster. You see where it says 12 spots are left. You may expect them to go fast. It's actually 10 because I made these slides early this morning and 2 more people signed up. So the seats are going very fast. So for pricing and scheduling, go to t3live.com/mentor, t3live.com/mentor. And if you have any questions, email our friend Amber, amber@t3live.com, amber@t3live.com, and she can answer any and all of your questions. She'll tell you if this is right for you, if this is wrong for you. But I encourage you to reach out to her because she will walk you through the process step by step. And again, if you want all the pricing and scheduling information, t3live.com/mentor. Now, I think Sami is sneaking away and he's putting in some trades while I'm not looking. So Sami obviously wants to get back. So Sami, do you have any final words for our friends in the audience today?
Look, honestly, the mentorship experience is probably turned more trading careers than all other classes that I teach combined. So I truly, really wholeheartedly believe in it. It's a hands-on experience for a whole week, plus I think 5 weeks of coaching after that. So it's an incredible experience. I highly recommend that you sign up for it. And hopefully I'll see you there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sami. And again, thank you everyone for joining us. We're streaming live a lot more often. So whatever platform you're on, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back with Sami next week. Everybody have a wonderful day. Good luck in your trading.
Ciao.